and I think they're going to be able to finish before they get scalded to death. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode here in our Max Colonization series. Today's mission is to get over to this Gilded Asteroid field and collect some of this valuable Fullerene. Lucky for us, it is exactly 10 tiles away from our home colony, so as long as nothing goes wrong, we should be okay. In order to accomplish this, we've now outfitted the ESS Susan and the NX-01 Enterprise with a couple of drill cones. These rockets have definitely become the Swiss Army knives of rockets. They are outfitted with Trailblazer modules, Rovers modules, drill cones, and enough fuel to make it all the way out to 10 tiles and back, because we have that range of 20. Shout out to the comments as well, something I never really considered. We used to use the large solid oxidizer tank, and it has a height of 5, except you can use 2 small solid oxidizer tanks to hold just as much oxalite, and yet they are 1 height smaller, which then saves you a little bit of room on your rockets. We also have these rockets outfitted with some of our newly produced berry sludge. With berry sludge and 5 tons of oxalite equipped in each rocket, they're both ready to go and get us some Fullerene. And I just remembered that I have power outlet fittings in these rockets. I think we can take advantage of the nice height provided by our petroleum engines and add a couple of solar panel modules on each one. That'll work out nicely. While the dupes wrap up putting the finishing touches on these rockets, I have a few updates around the colony. Once again, kudos to the comments, who reminded me that dupes are going to be likely to get hit in the head when these interplanetary launchers were down here. Not a big deal, we just moved them up and redirected the Radbolt reflectors to come up this way. Dupes don't ever have to interact with these machines, so it works out quite well this way. Radbolts then still finish up going into the diamond press, where we're doing a decent job creating some diamond. In fact, based on the radiation being provided by the 3 Radbolt generators, we're able to get about 50 kilos per cycle worth of diamond. I know it's not a lot, but it works perfect in our use case. We also 100% finished up on our research. Every last research has been finished, and so we don't have a need anymore for any of the materials study terminals or the other research buildings. And I was getting ready to rip them all out, and I realized, you know what? There may be a patch or something or a new add-on in the future, and I'd rather play it safe and leave the research buildings here, just in case Clay gets a little cheeky and adds a new research tree or something. We'll already be prepared. We also added a textile loom and a clothing refashionator, and whoever didn't already have special clothes on got a set of spiffy overalls. That is an awfully spiffy pair of overalls, if I do say so myself. We also added the artifact analysis station because we're soon going to start getting some artifacts whenever we hit some of these asteroid fields. We also made a couple of changes to our plug slug power plant. Now, if you remember from last episode, the gas pump was in here and it worked out really well, and the hydrogen never stayed in there a lot, so these plug slugs never really got an increased risk of laying smog slugs. By the way, isn't that power output absolutely beautiful? But several of you in the comments suggested we put airflow tiles on the top of this stable. That way the hydrogen automatically left the stable, and then we could deal with the filtering. So after a couple of design changes, and also us trying out a design on our Max Morale series over on Twitch, this is what I've come up with. And it works perfect. The hydrogen naturally floats up to the top, and then we have a couple pieces of automation. A gas element sensor that is looking for hydrogen, and then an atmo sensor that waits for there to at least be 500 grams worth of pressure. Once both those light up this AND gate, it tells the gas pump to turn on, and then we go through a simple filtering process, brings all the hydrogen down to a couple of hydrogen generators down in our industrial sauna, and everything else gets vented out into the environment. We also added several more batteries around the colony, because you saw how much power was coming out of these plug slugs. And I just realized this auto sweeper can't reach this tile right here, so we're going to move this. But as I was saying, I added a bunch of batteries. Because those plug slugs produce so much power, but only at night, we want to be able to capture all of that power. So we added another 5, 6, and 7 smart batteries to the grid. This way, when nighttime comes, we have plenty of capacity to store all the power being generated. Sadly, we're not running as hot as I'd like to be though. And that's because we're just not generating enough heat on the geothermal side of the house. You can see this igneous rock is down to about 650 degrees. So I've got a plan, and it's incredibly stupid. But first, let's crew up these Spacefarer modules and launch these rockets to their destination. and then cross our fingers that the game doesn't bug out and our rockets can make it the full 10 tiles. Because that is yet another bug that people have been noticing, is the rockets aren't making it as far as their listed description. Another bug I want you to keep an eye out for is to do with the critters. I've noticed ever since they made some changes to the critters, especially with the priority line, that sometimes the critters are just going to get stuck and they'll never end up jumping up on the grooming station. So your ranchers will sit here for an entire cycle continuously whistling and your critters won't end up coming or jumping up on the grooming station. This one bug has caused me to have to restart multiple times in every single recording session. Of course, I haven't exactly made matters better because we have so many ranches around the colony, but they're doing such great work. I mean, we now have so much petroleum, it's about to start overflowing into the vacuum of space. Not a huge deal, because it's not like we don't have plenty of petroleum on standby. Now to get to this dumb idea. What we're going to do is we're going to dig down in here and break through this obsidian. This obsidian is not a very good thermal conductor. What I'd like to do is open this up a little bit, allowing that magma to flow through here so we can start injecting more heat into these systems. Now to do this, we've installed a couple of atmosuit docks. So what we'll do is we're going to allow access through here. Somebody's going to pick up this debris though. They're going to make their way all the way down through here. And then we're going to gently open up the petroleum boiler right here. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Once these two tiles are open, we can then start putting a couple of obsidian ladders and deconstruct some of these diamond window tiles so that we have access again to this corridor. We're going to unlock this door and then start digging through, hopefully maintaining a vacuum the entire time. I could stare at these slug plugs all day. I mean, are you serious right now? This represents 12.8 kilowatts. It's a thing of beauty, really. We're also keeping our eyes out for another dupe, but I'm allowing myself to be a little bit picky because we are so far in the late game, but especially when the pilots are gone, we're only sitting at 13 duplicates on this colony. I'd like to see at least 16. While the duplicates are working on their suicide mission in the magma biome, I figured I'd give you an update on Jack. Jack is doing great. Jack has plenty of oxygen, plenty of food, and we've even installed a nice little bathroom for them. Now the bathroom's pretty simple. We had a little bit of water in here and you only need a little bit of water to get them started. And then the polluted water comes back out, gets sieved, which we don't have to worry about sand because we have 126 tons on this colony. But the interesting part of this system is any of the extra clean water that doesn't get used by the bathrooms, because as a reminder, your duplicates produce more water than they use using the bathrooms, gets sent over here into this electrolyzer. And it serves two purposes. One, providing a little bit of extra oxygen for Jack, but it also emits a little bit of hydrogen. And the hydrogen makes its way up through this shaft. Well, most of the time. And we're using that hydrogen to slowly cool down this dig shaft in an aim that hopefully one day we'll be allowed to get back in there without a suit on. As for now though, it's a no-no zone. You might be wondering where the rest of the oxygen's coming from. Well, just from polluted water that's off-gassing. In fact, we even set up a nice little storage tank here, where anytime we see some polluted water, we mop it up, it gets dumped off in this bottle emptier, where it will continue to provide us with a little bit of oxygen for quite some time. By the way, if you didn't think that Randy existed in Oxygen Not Included, we found the liquid sulfur geyser. Yep. It's in the middle of the magma. Now, considering you can no longer use the door trick to sort of burrow into magma, this makes this liquid sulfur geyser twice as hard to get to. And not only would it be more difficult, it would also be a lot more labor intensive. A couple of ideas I've had is I could drop this entire biome all the way to the bottom of this planetoid and sort of put the magma back where it belongs. Granted, that would create a lot of problems in the colony while we're doing that. So we'd have to insulate one whole side or another and then start carving it out. Another potential solution is to get up here with a bunch of pitcher pumps and start dropping all of the magma into the vacuum of space. And I'm sure you're well aware of how long that would take. We could also drop a dozen steam turbines onto it and start drawing out all the heat. Of course, I'm pretty sure that would take about 500 to 1,000 cycles on its own. So I've started coming to the realization that infinite sustainability might not be as practical as just sustainability. And right now, Jack has 13 tons of sulfur and plenty more left on the planetoid before these plants would end up using it all. And it would take an awful long time for these 5 plants to end up using it all, considering they're only using 50 kilos per cycle. The dupes have done a great job. Our little hole in the petroleum boiler is working out perfectly. The dupes come down here. They've managed to build an obsidian ladder all the way down, and then we've put a bunch of obsidian temperature shift plates all the way through the shaft. Finally, we finished it off with a little bit of diamond window tiles. The next step is going to be digging all the way through this obsidian. Obsidian is not a great thermal conductor. It has a specific heat capacity of 0.2 and a thermal conductivity of 2. So the plan is we're going to dig out these 3 tiles right here and then run really fast to get out of here, hopefully allowing all this magma that has a whole lot of pressure backed up to flow all the way through here and start conducting a lot more heat. I mean, I think it'll work. I also wanted to highlight that our rocket exhaust sinks worked out pretty well. You can see that even after the launch, none of the area around it is very hot at all. Yeah, the insulated tile got pretty hot, but it's insulated, so it doesn't share temperature with the environment very much. The one place that did get a little warm is over here, but that's because of this heavy watt joint plate. The rocket exhaust hits the heavy watt joint plate, which then transfers its thermals with the surrounding area. But all in all, not bad, especially considering how it went the last time we launched petroleum rockets off this planetoid. I also want to introduce you to our newest dupe, Queen Calero. Now, the Queen's skills are such that I've nicknamed them the mother of all dupes. Not only do they start with cooking, researching, and tidying, but they also start off as a mechatronics engineer. We've temporarily put them into a little bit improved strength because they're going to be spending so much time picking things up and setting them down, but we're also going to getting into some rocket piloting and some suit sustainability training, get that athletics up. But it also reminded me that one of the things we didn't really have on the planetoid was a dupe gym. Now, we've had this, but this is more of an idle prevention system. All these wheels are set on 1. We also have this battery set on 9550. So if the batteries are lower than 50 and the dupes have nothing to do, well, they'll come run on the wheels. But it's not perfect as a dupe gym because the dupes don't always have to be there, and we can't really control who's doing it and who's not. That's where we have this fun little place. Right now, Queen Calero's the only one that can get in. In fact, I think Dave's pretty new too. And they're just gonna sit in here and run all day. We have these manual generators set at 9, and they want to make sure that ceiling light stays on. Now, to make sure it was an enjoyable experience, we've installed a couple of nice arrow pots and some pixel packs that turn on when the dupes are running. So the decor in here is pretty good, which, by the way, looks kind of funny when you highlight over the pixel packs in the decor menu. It makes the wheels go away. Whoop, no wheel, wheel, no wheel, wheel. But while I'm at it, I figured it's probably high in time we start decor bombing everywhere else in the colony as well. It's one of those things that you don't really get around to it until you start focusing on it, and it's just not quite as important as, you know, oxygen. Alright, I'm a little bit of sad potatoes right now. Here's the NX-01 Enterprise. You can see that it has its 1 ton of diamond and its drill cone all ready to go, yet it's not drilling. And I can't figure out why. Oh dear goodness. I just figured out why. The rockets didn't have any containers to put all the stuff in. Alright guys, time to come back home. I was wondering why I was able to pack so much into one rocket. Well, it was a good test flight, if nothing else. So while we wait on those pilots to come back from their fool's errand, I'm gonna start throwing down gold metal block statues. Gold, just because we have an infinite supply of it. So it makes it easy just to dart the entire landscape with nothing. Oh, we still haven't built a hospital yet either. That might be good to do before we do this. We also have another new dupe in Saintly Gator. Saintly Gator is a builder, rancher, and rocketry expert, and their only negative is they're a bit squeamish. Saintly's got a little bit of time to get caught up, so they're going to be joining Queen Calero in the gym. And here is our wonderful new hospital. It has every stage of appropriate medical care. Well, as soon as we power the disease clinic. It has the lavatory and the sink with the mess table in case we need to quarantine a dupe, and then a couple of triage cots, not that we ever need to use them in this colony. We also have a wonderful little pharmacy and visiting area. We have an auto sweeper in range, so whenever we do need to make some medicine, the auto sweeper will grab it and put it right inside the ration box. But now that we have our stage 3 hospital complete, we can try this out. And no, we're not gonna save. Now, even duplicants in suits can't withstand the heat of magma, but the goal is just to dig out these 3 pieces of obsidian. Then we'll keep this manual airlock shut just in case bad things happen, but I'm not predicting any emergencies. In the meantime, the Enterprise is now back, so we have to figure out where to put our storage. I suppose while we're doing these gathering missions, we can take out the Trailblazer module, and since the large cargo module needs 5 tiles of height, we're also going to have to lose the rover's module. Oh, look at this. Susan's home too. In fact, I think we'll actually outfit this rocket for the asteroid collection and leave the Enterprise as the colonizer. So we'll remove the Trailblazer module and the rover's module from here, put in the large cargo bay, and then send the Susan back. And now that we have our pilots back, we actually need to add a couple more bedrooms, because someone's sleeping on the floor tonight. And I think this will be a good enough overflow barracks, but we'll also need to add some beautiful new carpet. And don't worry, we have over 1,300 units of reed fiber. John's coming to deconstruct the very first tile. Here goes nothing. Oh, that's not so bad. Getting a little warmer. Please don't quit now, John. Do it all. Well, this was very anticlimactic. I understand the viscosity of magma, but my prediction was because it was 3 tiles high, it would flow a lot quicker to get in here. I mean, at this rate, one of our new dupes could have gotten in here and still had enough time to run out before the magma gets them. Maybe we should go 4 high. Yeah, let's do that, shall we? We only have a couple of good diggers on the colony left because we've sent Jack to strange new worlds. Lucky for us, both Carol and John Mann seem to have a very high tolerance for heat, and I think they're going to be able to finish before they get scalded to death. But don't worry, because both John and Carol have the best insurance dupes can get, and that's an echo at the printing pod. Oh yeah, this is going to be cutting it a little too close. Uh-oh. Oh, down goes Carol. Oh, and John. And now we have a problem because there's no other suits to be able to come in and get John and Carol. Maybe I should have thought about that. Okay, this is pretty easy. I can just deliver some new suits and then 2 more duplicants can go and run and grab them. We have everything under control. See? Everything's a-okay. Now Carol and John get a little vacation, and look, they even got their first visitor. With all the life-threatening situations all said and done, we've now have a large cargo bay installed on the ESS Susan. And with Lady Ruff boarded, it's time to get back out to that asteroid field. Hey, John. Yeah, Carol, how you doing? Do you remember something bad going on last time we were down here? Nope. Can't remember a thing. Now that that's complete, it is happening, albeit a little slowly. What's going to happen here is this magma blade is going to come all the way out to 10 tiles. And then it's going to trickle down 10 tiles, and so on and so forth. Pretty interesting, because I don't think I've seen the mechanics in action quite like this before. At this point, the game's just laughing at me. Something has stalled. I've tried restarting, and even though this is clearly not a stable position for this magma, it's kind of stuck. The last thing I think I can try is removing this hook here. Man, the dupes are really not going to like me now. In fact, why don't we just go in all the way? We'll dig all the way through here, and then one by one, we'll just remove these tiles. I mean, we never know. Maybe the planetoid's on a weird axis, and gravity impacts it in different ways. Somehow I doubt that, though. The game's just trying to do everything it can to make sure this magma doesn't touch this window tile. Well, apparently that's not going to matter either. What looks like is happening is all the debris that was sitting on the ground is absorbing the heat from the magma, and all of it's turning back into igneous rock because we've drained so much of the heat before. John and I have turned into a pretty good team. I think we've reached a sort of understanding. This is the reason why you have to love proximity mode. That way the dupes will continue to dig or whatever you need, so in applications like this, you don't have to wait for them to leave and then come back and all that sort of stuff. Not that that made a big difference. Well, I guess if the magma doesn't want to come to the diamond, we'll make the diamond go to the magma. While I'm still absolutely flabbergasted on why this magma is not moving at all, we have managed to implement another solution. With the diamond tile touching the magma, this entire spike is slowly raising back in temperature. We've connected these 2 sides with a mechanized airlock, and although it's a little bit slower than our old geothermal spike, it's still getting the job done. But I'm half expecting the next time I reload into this game for all this magma to level back out, because this just doesn't make sense to me. In other great news, the ESS Susan is successfully drilling, and so far we have over 200 kilos of fullerene. And considering 100 kilos of supercoolant only requires 1 kilo of fullerene, we're going to be set up pretty nicely with all the supercoolant we need. My gosh, is it going to take me a long time to replace all of these cooling loops. I know progress is going a little slow on this colony, but just to give you an indication of how slow it actually is, every cycle is taking 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And that's on ×3 speed. Let that sink in for a second. But now that we're back out on the star map, we've got access to supercoolant. I think our next stop is going to be finding the tree planet and starting to gather some of that beautiful resin. I hope you enjoyed this episode and all of its ridiculousness. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon.